See, they got the first go.
Christine and then welcome. Are you ready? Yeah, you good? Call me into order. It's 5 o'clock. It is the Environmental Services Committee meeting of Thursday, August 8th. Have to mute it. Call me into order. Have to mute it. Call me into order. Awesome. So just as a reminder that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. We're going to be available on the town's YouTube channel. I will remind the committee if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest to declare at that time. I'll move on to section 3 for delegations. We've got none at this time, no late additions. I'll move on to section 4, which is the adoption of the committee meeting minutes. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wolvette, seconded by committee member Jeff DeVlute, that the minutes be adopted by the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee, and that those confidential minutes of the closed sessions of the committee remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And that is for the committee meeting minutes from June 6, 2024. Got a chance to review that. Is there any questions or concerns from the committee? Seeing nothing, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have nothing under item 5, businesses arising. So I'll move on to section 6. I have a motion moved by committee member DeVlute, seconded by Councillor Wolvette, that the accounts as listed be received by the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee. We have the water list as of June 2024, the sewer list as of June 2024, and the water and sewer list for July 2024. And we've had a chance to review that. Is there any questions from the committee, beginning with Mayor Atkinson?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. De Silva. A couple questions. You see on the July payables, there's Sarnia Plumbing and Mechanical Limited annual BFP testing in the amount of over $3,000. What would that be for?
Yeah, through the chair, that's for the backflow preventer testing that we do on an annual basis at all the facilities. Yeah, including the fire halls and everything.
That's a regular
But once a year.
year. And I see that, or if I may, Mr. Chair, one more thing. I noticed we're still paying Neptune. How much longer before all that will be wrapped up? You're pretty well close to that.
Again, through the chair, I think there's one more invoice coming as a wrap-up invoice for the month of August, because we did supply purchase some additional parts and meters from them. So I think you'll see one more invoice coming in August, and that'll be it. And I'll be able to provide an update, like an end of project update in terms of what the total cost was.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Chair, this time.
That's what I think.
Just one item on the July payables, second from the top, Vaza Contracting, water leak repair on Creekside Drive, 6841. What would that have been? A fairly expensive repair on the main line. Creekside.
Chair. That was a full water service replacement. Much like Muskoka Trail, Creekside has the low grade copper. This wouldn't be the first time that we've done a service repair on Creekside. They just seem to be more prevalent currently. Was a fairly extensive thing just because of the infrastructure. You've got the gas main, multiple communications, hydro. It'd be nice if it was a 2-hour job, but I believe this one took us till almost 2 o'clock. So
So are we replacing the copper line right from the road right to the house?
that is correct. We're right to the curb stop. If I notice that it's copper on the homeowner side, I do bring that up to homeowner just in case something was to happen future, but 95% of the ones that I've seen, they're all plastic going into the homes.
So the repair is from the main to the curbside stop valve, so you're digging up the main. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Just following up on that, like your point about Muskoka, and then we're seeing it here on Creekside. Obviously, there's a little trail here that's similar to that. Subdivision, is it about the same age? Probably.
So we have multiple subdivisions that were developed in that same time period, Muskoka Trail, Creekside, and phase 1 of the Huron Crest subdivision, Cullen, Van Bree.
Mhm.
We're finding the same copper that was used, all 3 of those. We're kind of running into the same issue across all 3, where it's just small little pinholes in the copper service. You replace it, you inspect it, you see that the copper itself is degraded. Whether or not that's a manufacturer defect, or it could be soil conditions, it could be a number of things kind of battling together, but they are all the same.
So for what you're saying, we shouldn't be surprised to see some more of these.
That is correct.
Yeah, and if I can follow up through the chair, we do carry $100,000 a year in minor distribution repairs. Lately, over the last several years, we've been doing the line stops in Wyoming. Our intention for next year would be to repurpose those funds and start doing some of these services on a proactive basis, so we're not constantly reacting. Not to mention the difficulty it is to get a contractor sometimes just to do one service, for example. So we can probably group them together and say, all right, this year we're gonna do 20 services and we'll probably get better value rather than spending $6,000 on these every time. We might be able to get it down to $2,500 or $3,000.
Just to follow up on this, like, it's pretty significant. To what I'm hearing anyways, don't want to blow it out of proportion, but. You know, we just talked about 3 different areas, subdivisions, that's got copper problems. Now, when the services are all put in there, is that not the responsibility of the contractor to put the services in?
So through the chair, during the original subdivision construction, the developer and through their contractor put all of those services in. My understanding is that that copper was of a timeline where it was coming from China and it was inferior, so it's prone to low service life. Essentially, that's what happened on Muskoka Trail. We're seeing this on Creekside, we're seeing it on Huron Crest phase 1. Following that vintage of copper, it doesn't seem to be an issue anymore, but we still probably have, and Chris can correct me, I think probably 60 services outstanding, or potentially maybe even more of that vintage of copper that's prone to this corrosive condition.
Here's my point is, it's the contractor, developer that bought the copper. And if he bought. Say this, if he bought copper at a more reasonable price. To put it in rather than premium copper, and now we're having to pay for all this. Like, is there no comeback on the contractor or developer in these subdivisions at all?
Through the chair, I think it comes down to the fact that the copper met the specifications of the day. And unfortunately, once the subdivision is assumed, and I believe the previous director of public works did have those conversations with the developer at the time. To see if they were willing to pick up at least some of the bill, and unfortunately it had been much too long. I'm not sure exactly when Huron Crest phase 1 was developed. I think it was around 2008. Something like that. So like, 16-ish years ago. So it's tough to go back on a developer that far.
Okay, thank you.
No questions or concerns.
No questions.
I just had one quick question. The Neptune reimbursements, is that just overbilling?
Exactly. It's just errors on their part.
So that's everything. I'm seeing nothing further from the committee, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Move on to items, section 7 for staff reports. I've got a motion moved by committee member Jeff DeVlute, seconded by Councillor Bob Wolvet, that the report submitted by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated July 30th, 2024, regarding the pumping station rehabilitations in various locations project be received, and the revised tender submitted by Burnham Excavating Limited in the amount of $126,052.90 plus HST be endorsed and forwarded to council for approval. And again, we've had that staff report to review. I'll open that for any questions for Mr. De Silva.
Nothing, no.
Seeing no further questions. So I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Move on to item 7.2. I have a motion moved by Mayor Atkinson, seconded by committee member DeVlute, that the report submitted by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated July 30th, 2024, regarding the sewer use discharge bylaw 67 of 2017 amendment be received, endorsed, and forwarded to council for approval. Again, Mr. De Silva is here to answer any questions. Any questions from the committee? Mayor Atkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. De Silva. Probably being the one that has to sign this law. I'm just questioning, do we have, our neighboring municipalities have a very similar one to this, or is this something new that's out there, or? Because it does give us the authority to go on people's properties and check out their system.
Through the chair. Good question. Most modern sewer use bylaws definitely do have this provision in them, the ability to inspect. Our intention is not just to show up randomly to people's houses. Our intention with the program would be to do it by appointment so that they know that we're coming and they know what the purpose of the inspection is for. And that's mainly to investigate illegal sump pump connections to the sanitary sewer. And that is a major concern of ours in this town. It's a major concern everywhere, to be honest. And in my experience, the only way to combat that problem is really doing mandatory inspections in people's homes. Normally, I say people are there, they understand why we're doing it. In 99% of cases, it can be difficult, obviously, as we found out with the Neptune replacement project, that you're not going to get 100% compliance with people returning your calls and your letters, but we're going to try. So we just wanted this bylaw to have a little bit of teeth in place so that when we do eventually roll out our inflow and infiltration mitigation program, that we have the right to inspect private plumbing systems.
This isn't the first time this has come up. It's come up several times in the past. And it always had a hard time being passed. There's quite a few arguments against this, but going into people's home. And I recall at that time, we did agree to a lot of infiltration studies with leaking caps and all that kind of stuff, which was carried out. But remember, this is very disputed thing about allowing people to go into homes and do their inspections. The other thing I'll say is there's areas of this municipality have grandfathering agreements at the time that do not have storm sewers in their neighborhoods. And as a matter of fact, some of those homes do have a backup discharge into the sanitary sewer system because there is no other place to go. So I would caution, and Adam certainly knows about this discussion. Have to go back and look. I'm not gonna get into detail about what these areas are, but, definitely was at that time, because there is no storm sewers, that they were allowed to discharge into the sanitary system. So I would like to see you go back and certainly before you start going into people's homes, you find out about that before you. So I will not be supporting this at this time, because there's a lot of questions to be asked. When you start to want to go in and inspect people's houses, that's always. You found out even with water meters that may not even have been in their house, but this may even be a little bit worse, so. I, for one, won't be supporting this at this time. There's a lot more detail comes in how you are going to go into people's houses. That's just not a very popular thing anymore. I don't care if you're collecting for charity or whether what you're doing, people don't want you in their houses or in their yards for security reasons. That's my comments on that topic.
If I may, through the chair, I understand your point. I will say our water use bylaw provides us with the provision to inspect water meters, for example. So we already have a different bylaw that already permits this. And our sewer use bylaw, the one that I'm asking to amend right now, does prohibit any stormwater from going into the sanitary sewer. So it is prohibited. I was not aware that there might be a grandfathered situation where the town has permitted that. But I would ask that if we implement the program and we were to inspect people's homes and they were discharging to the sanitary sewer and they didn't have a storm sewer available to them, which is common because not everywhere has a storm sewer, that they would discharge it on the surface out to the grass. That would be.
Here's another thing. A lot of homes that don't have stormwater sewer systems, their houses, their basements are designed to drain into the sanitary sewer. My house, my floor drains in my home, which is not real modern, almost 20-some years old. Storm drains go to the sanitary sewer system. The drains in the basement.
Yeah. The floor drains do go to the sanitary sewer system in almost 100% of cases, but the footing tiles around the home go to a sump pump that evacuates to the storm.
Agreed. My dehumidifier, my furnace goes into the basement drain, the basement drains. My furnace room in this house actually has, in where the sump pump is, and the furnace actually has curbs around that whole room. So that if the sump pump overflows, it flows into the basement, into the drain that goes to sanitary sewers.
If I could just make one more comment. One thing that was made pretty loud and clear to me from the folks around Wyoming when we got that big storm about 3 weeks ago is they want us to do something. There's a lot of stormwater that's making its way into sanitary sewers and backing up people's homes. In order for us to do something, unfortunately, we will have to undertake mandatory inspections. We'll start off slow. We'll go to the higher risk areas first. And in order for us to do that, we do have to have something in the bylaw. If the committee wants me to reword it or bring back more information, I am absolutely more than happy to do so. This was very much a first step in trying to get that program started.
I'm just bringing up points that were brought up already a few years ago about this same topic, so. As long as we do it right, won't start going up and blitzing people's homes, because that'll cause a lot of problems. The first thing people are going to ask you, okay, where do you want it to go? If they don't have a stormwater setup. Now, most of your new subdivisions do stormwater ponds or whatever. In fact, there was the guy in here tapping on my shoulder just before this meeting about where the stormwater is going to go in a new subdivision. Won't get into detail. So, like, what is a big issue? I'm not debating that whatsoever, but just bringing up the facts here before we get neck deep into this thing. I'd like to say, just maybe ask some questions about what areas don't have stormwater. What do they do with their stormwater? And have they been allowed to do that since houses were built? Some are, my understanding is I didn't know this, but from other people in the neighborhood said, no. We're grandfathered to be able to put our sump pumps into. I don't believe there's any problems in those areas, but here in Wyoming, a little bit different situation, so. Anyway,
Thank you.
so that you can go back and look at past minutes of council and you see this discussed.
Any questions?
Don't have any questions or concerns, I guess this will go to council anyway, so I guess there'd be more discussion. But at this point, I think we need a way to get in to check and try to mitigate some of the problems that we have in the area for sure.
My question to Mr. De Silva, to the chair, would be just, again, yeah, I recognize the need for that provision. Just what exactly would necessitate an inspection? Like, how do you determine which houses at which time get inspected?
Yeah, through the chair, we don't know which houses for sure. It's a multi-stage approach. So first of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be video inspecting sewers to make sure they're in good condition, because a lot of that infiltration could just be coming from manholes or cracks in pipes. When they do those inspections, oftentimes you'll see large gushes of water that come out of a sanitary sewer that you know are coming from a sump pump because they last a long time and it's a lot of clear water. So that's an indication that somebody's sump pump is tied in. Then we go to mandatory inspections pretty much across the board. It's not going to be selective. It would be going into a home. It won't take very long just to confirm that the sump pump itself is not tied into the sanitary sewer. How we do that, what staff we use, what contractors we use has not been sorted at this point. We haven't developed the program. This is just kind of a first step just to allow us to perform inspections if we needed to.
And I guess my question would be, we've of course got the sump pump disconnect grant, so with the theory also to be kind of gotta come look at it, but we've still got grant money left, or is it still gonna have to be applicable? Like, they'd have to apply, obviously, but that is a theory there to have that kind of soften, that there's an option here to help get that result.
Absolutely. We already have an excellent program in place, both for backwater valves and for some pump disconnects. So it's not like we're going to be inspecting people's homes and then they'd be saddled with this huge bill. There's a $3,000 grant. We may have to add to that in the future in terms of how much money we're spending a year, but it's going to pay us back dividends because, you know, when it rains, our treatment plants are being completely flooded out. We're having low compliance issues with that. Our sump pumps go into high level. Basements get backed up. So it's, you know, I think that this is necessary. And we do already have the grant program in place where people are already actually taking advantage. I talked to somebody today who's taking advantage of it.
So I guess to the committee, as of right now, the motion on the floor moved by Mayor Atkinson and Committee Member DeVlute, it's to receive, endorse, and forward to council. I've heard a couple of things, further council discussion. I've heard need more information. So do the mover and the seconder want to keep the motion the same, or would you be more comfortable amending it to take out endorse with the expectation that more information would be provided when council discusses it?
I think that would probably be prudent because we have some new counselors. If you're aware, Mr. Chair, that would probably having some added information might be beneficial to them.
So we'll amend it to just take out the endorsement,
Fine with that.
just for the purposes of Paul bringing more information to the council. We'll just cross out endorsement. So I'll read the motion again, moved by Mayor Atkinson, seconded by Committee Member DeVlute, that the report submitted by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated July 30th, 2024, regarding the sewer use discharge bylaw 67 of 2017 amendment be received and forwarded to council for approval. Call for a vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I'll move on to item 7.3. I have a motion moved by Committee Member Jeff DeVlute, seconded by Mayor Atkinson, that the report submitted by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated August 1st, 2024, regarding capital project status update be received as information. It's a very wholesome, full report. Of course, Mr. De Silva is here to answer any questions if anyone has any.
No questions or concerns.
I have nothing, Mr. Chair.
Very good report.
I just had one question, for Mr. De Silva. What kind of home interventions are we referring to when we talk about the 60 remaining? There's 60 remaining, water, meters.
Mhm.
And it's mentioned there that most of them are due to required homeowner intervention. So just wondering details.
So true. And what that means is that a lot of times they would get there and Neptune was unwilling to work on it because the plumbing wasn't up to code. So then the homeowner was told, your plumbing needs to be brought up to code before we will touch this, because it's too much liability for them to take that on. Then there's still a few hard refusals, so people that absolutely did not let us in the house to do this work. A couple of them are, you know, the meter is not in an accessible area, so it's behind a wall and they didn't want to do the carpentry and stuff that would be required. So we are looking at doing the rest of these kind of on a case by case basis, reaching out, having conversations with people, trying to get them to do those plumbing repairs so that we can get this completed.
Thank you. There's no further questions. Well, Councilor Levitt, you're thinking over there.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
I will call for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have nothing under item 8, so I'll move on to item 9. I have a motion moved by Councilor Wolvette, seconded by Mayor Atkinson, that the minutes from the laws meeting be received for May 2024. Is there any questions regarding those minutes? Seeing nothing.
Let me just ask Representative, Mr. Mayor, is there any more discussion around the here in Plympton-Wyoming,
Relating to what aspect of it, Councillor?
them taking it over laws?
Not to my knowledge at this time. Mr. De Silva.
To the chair, that's correct, not in the short term, in the long term, yes, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done before then.
There's no further questions. All for a vote, all in favor? That's carried. We have nothing under correspondence for action required. I'll move on to section 11. We have 2 items there. I have a motion moved by Mayor Atkinson, seconded by Councilor Wolvette. The correspondence related to recommended reading and routine approval, information items not otherwise addressed by resolution, be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee and filed accordingly. That is the Jacob Smuggler reports for May and June of 2024. We've got folks here that can answer for that. Is there any questions?
Just one, Plympton-Wyoming Lakeshore Area WPCP 2024 flow report. There's a figure on there highlighted in yellow. 3892. Significant increase. Now that was in January. Why would that be so high compared to all the rest of the numbers on that page?
Through the chair, that would have been either a heavy rainfall or potentially even just snow melt. With obviously what we've been discussing is the infiltration of stormwater, groundwater into the sanitary sewer system. And much like what you'll see in Wyoming, anytime that those flows at those facilities are higher than the designed criteria, I have them highlighted, just for information, as well as when I do my annual reports with the MECP. They would like to know every time we didn't meet a design criteria.
Yeah, it's a good report and thank you for highlighting it because that's what brings your attention to it, especially that one. You know, compared to 3892 compared to normals, you know, around 1,000, 1,200. So I mean, I don't recall a big rainfall in January, but could have been a snow melt.
And it is very possible. I do track fall precipitation that happens within the Plympton-Wyoming system as well, so I can always look back into that specific date and see if it was a rain event or snowfall or snow melt.
Well, I mean, obviously it was an increased flow, so it's one of the two likely rainers, you know, so, okay, I just. Thanks for highlighting those figures out, so let's just take a look at, you know, some of what we've been talking about here for infiltration. Yeah,
Anything else, Counselor? All right. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Move on to item 12 for new business. For water and sewer environmental, anything new business? Counselor Levitt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question. I understand we have a water leak that's been ongoing out on Cullen Drive. I know we've had one there previously, but this one's been going on for a while. And I understand, if I'm correct, and I'll defer to Mr. De Silva on this one, that we're waiting for somebody to bore a line to try to offset this waste that we're experiencing. Where would we be in the schedule? Because I really hate losing water. It's a very precious commodity. And do we have something lined up for that?
Through the chair, I was just talking to Chris today about this. It looks like we have Smith drilling lined up to do it. We're pushing them hard to get it done next week, but we'll have a firm schedule, I believe, by Monday. Is that right, Chris?
That is correct.
I know we have a lot of residents out that way that are letting me know that regularly, so. Good, thank you, Chris.
I got nothing.
I have a few things. Yeah, but just so the committee is aware, we did apply for a grant several months ago to upgrade our Plympton wastewater treatment plant. And unfortunately, we did not receive that grant. So I just want to make everyone aware. And also our fall newsletter is going to be going out in September. It's not quite ready in draft yet. But if anybody in the committee has any suggestions for that newsletter, just please let us know. You can even, I don't want to put you on the spot right now, but you can even email me with the suggestion and we'll try to get it included. That's all I have.
Christine? Yeah, and I'll just, thanks to Paul and I, because Jacobs was involved in that application too. Right, and it was a very complex and well-done application, so. It's unfortunate that we didn't get it, but I know there's another window that they're opening, so I'm sure we'll. Try again, but. Thanks for the work that went into it. I will, we have nothing under 13, so I will move to 14. I have a motion. Moved by Mayor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Wolfett. That the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee regular meeting be adjourned until the next regular meeting to be held September 5th, 2024 at 5 p.m. I will call for a vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everybody.